Hello and welcome. Today, you may have seen an overview video showing our wonderful multi-award winning stamp and spin tool. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into some of the great techniques. So I want to show you in a little more depth how to get the best results from this truly wonderful tool. I'm going to be using stamps designed by Lisa Jones. These are there are the garden botanicals. I'll put these here so you can see them. There's also the botanical fruit. There are the nature butterflies, and to tie it all together, daily sentiments #2. Now, obviously, all designed by the same designer, all hand drawn. So what's important about this is the line thickness and the quality of the line. It brings everything together, so you can use them independently of the tool. You can use them independently with the tool, or you can use them all together, and they're not going to look mismatched. So a really cool set. Well done, Lisa, for designing those wonderful stamps. But of course, if you have a huge stash of stamps, you can use whatever, and that's the great thing about this tool. Now, let's have a look. We've got obviously, to use the tool, you do need your stencil and stamp tool, which if you go to the Sizzix website, you will see all sorts of information telling you how to get the best out of that tool as well. It really is fantastic. Now, let's peel off. Now, everything that attaches to the tool, all your projects and everything, do so using the sticky grid sheet, and it does have a cover on it to save it from dust. So once you peel that away, you can then replace it. It is a consumable, but they're very low cost item. You can buy them in packs of 5 and they will last a long, long time. So this is low tack, kind of like sticky notelets. That's going to hold your project in position. So there's no magnets which can shift out of registration. Once it's down, it's going to stay down. So this, we replace that. So when you finish using it, to keep it free of dust and glitter and embossing powder and all those things that we have in our craft rooms, hang on to that for later. Now, the tool itself, of course, it simply fits onto the hinge and comes down like this. But I want to show you, it's kind of hard to see. There are markings on it, which are very clear to me, but maybe the camera's not quite picking them up. So what I've done, I've printed this off. This circle is 21 by 21. So this is scaled down just slightly, and it shows you these circles, which are marked on the tool, which give you an indication. If you want to create a wreath, for example, or a circle of stamps, that gives you an indication of the size that we're going to get. So if I want to make one this size, using say I use my lemon, I can put it there, and I know that between these increments and the solid lines, that is the 8 turns of the tool. So to create a circle, we stamp, we spin, we stamp, we spin. And there are 8 spins to create the circle. So now, when I put this here like that, this lemon, you can see that it's going from that line to that line. So they're going to join up. If I move it out to create a wider circle, you can see there's a space here between this line and this line. That gives you an opportunity, maybe once you've made the first stamping, to reverse this and place it there to fill in those gaps. You don't have to fill it in with the same stamp. You can use other stamps. So you can mix your fruit, your flowers, your butterflies, your foliage, and so on and so forth. So it's quite important to have these markings because it does give you more of an indication. So it's not kind of all guesswork. Now let's take that one away for a second, and we'll show you how to create the most basic wreath. So if you've never seen the tool in action before, this is what it's all about. So if I take a piece of card, and you can see there's my center line. So I want to place this kind of in the center, like so. So that's down, it's not going to move, it's on the sticky grid sheet. It's important to note. Then I bring my tool down. Now let's make the smallest wreath, and we'll take this this lemon that we were just looking at, and I've got my markings, so I'm going to place it. Well, when I say small, it's kind of small-ish. I'm going to place it about there. So these should match up. Let's get a better angle, shall we? There, like that. They are cling stamps, so once they're in place, they're not going to move. And I'm going to ink that up. I'm using archival ink for this. You can use whatever inks that you have to hand. So there we are. Because it's a stamp platform, it doesn't take much pressure. If the stamp is imperfect, and this one, you can see, because I didn't put any pressure, some of the lines haven't come out, you can simply reapply it. And that's the beauty of a stamp platform. You know, because if you do 8 stamps, one of them is not going to be perfect. It's going to ruin your project. With a stamp platform, you know you can reapply the ink and you can reapply the stamp. Now that is stamped, and I simply spin. It clicks into position. It's a lovely, smooth action. And we make the second, and we just keep going around. So we stamp a spin. Now, once you've done this, as with all rubber stamping, if you want to color this with watercolors or with solvent-based markers, for example, you can do that, and we will be showing you some nice examples of that in a little while. But there we are. We simply move around like so until we have all 8. Now, you can continue building this wreath. You can work on the outside of that. You can work on the inside. If you want to introduce some foliage or a little flower, that's entirely up to you. But I'm just gonna take that away for now. And let's talk about a larger wreath. And let's talk about how we can build to fill those gaps. So, as I always say with this, I really don't know where I'm going with this. Kind of making it up as I go along. But you know, that's part of the fun of a tool like this, is exploring, experimenting, doing what you feel right in the moment, as it were. I'm going to choose this one. This is kind of like sheaves of corn. And I'm going to place this. Now let's bring back in my illustration. I want to do a larger one. So if I place it there, for example, this is 1/8 of a turn. It represents 1/8 of a turn. And you can see that there's a gap there. I'm going to fill that gap. Now you can either do all 8 and then go with your next stamp. I'm going to do something slightly different with that. So I'll place this onto the tool like so. That's ready to go. We'll ink it up. And we'll come in again. Again, applying the right amount of pressure, not too much, not too little. You kind of build a sense for what works for you. It becomes kind of second nature over time. But you can see the gap between them. Now, what I could do is I could use the same pattern and slip it in there, the same stamp rather, you know, and slip it in between. But we're going to try and build in a couple of different ones. The first one is this butterfly. Now I want it to touch the end like so. I'm moving this around. There's no rights or wrongs with this. So yeah, about that. That works for me. Now, I'm going to continue to do my stamping and my spinning. And when I'm going to pick up the butterfly. So it kind of joins the party. And let's ink up. Now I know that with every subsequent stamp, it's going to be in exactly the right position. So we'll click, 1/8 of a turn again, and stamp. Now, here, there's still a gap there. So what can I use to fill that? I'm going to take this little, maybe, I don't know, this little flower. I think that would work nicely. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll go with a daisy. There. We'll pop that daisy in. So it's touching both that stamp and that stamp. And then, again, we'll make our click. We will ink up. Now, obviously, in a little while, this one will have made a complete rotation. So I'm inking, let's bring this down so you can see. I'm inking all 3 stamps like that. Because this is a stamp platform, because we have this hinge, we can take it off and we're going to get perfect registration. So there we are. There's my 3rd stamp. That's in place. Now this one, you can see, has made its full rotation. So I simply take that away and I continue with the other 2. So make my spin and stamp, bring that down. So we just keep going around until we've built that lovely wreath. Now, as I say, if you feel more comfortable doing one at a time, that's entirely up to you. There are no rights, no wrongs. It's just fun, fun, fun all the way. Now, you can see the butterfly has done its complete rotation. So now I'm just keeping going with the daisy. There we are. Whoops. That wasn't good, was it, folks? Be very careful with your ink. There you go. But this is only an exercise to show you how to use the Stamp and Spin. If you prefer to have a big, messy rectangle from your ink pen, you carry on. As I say, there are no rights or wrongs, although I think technically that's probably wrong. But you can see how these all join up perfectly just by adding in stamps as we go along. Again, you know, there's no reason why you can't do a repetition of the first stamp as well. I have lots of examples to show you, actually. But talking about other ink pads, let's have a look. Let's have a look at. We'll take one of my biggest stamps now. Let's take this lovely butterfly. And again, if I wanted to build a wreath with this guy, so obviously it's slightly larger scale. If I did it like that, it's kind of boring. Or even like that. It's going to complete a wreath where they're all looking inward. Now, if I put it at an angle like this, that's going to be quite fun. They're all a slightly different angle, and it's going to give it, I don't know, it gives it some creative mojo. I don't understand it. It just works. So let's take my tool, place this like so, and this time I'm using distress inks. Now, people don't, they're not something that people use for stamping necessarily, but you can get some great effects with distress inks. So if I apply, this is Peacock Feathers, which is a lovely blue-green color. I'm also going to introduce some mustard seed, which is quite a punchy yellow. All right, now, here's the fun part. When I spritz that with water, it's going to activate the ink, and the ink pools on the stamp. It doesn't sit flat like some other inks. But the effect you get is incredible. It's kind of like, almost like a watercolor effect. So I'm pressing that down. And can you see how that is completely imperfect? But you know what? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, because that is what I am going for. So again, we'll apply it in the same way. Some peacock feathers. If you want to dry these off in between applications, that's up to you. And then we'll spritz again. And we'll bring it down. So we'll make a spin and we'll bring it down in position like that. Wow, I'm loving that. So you can see this is another way of using it to get that kind of watercolor effect. I'm gonna do one more thing. This is just for fun. I'm gonna apply some ink to this and this. I'm going to activate it with a little bit of water. I'm going to take one of the palette knives from my Sizzix Effects toolkit, and I'm going to splatter on some of this color. And it goes into the water, which is still wet from the stamp as well. And it just creates a wonderful effect. Now, to take a look at how that comes out, you only need to look at this. This is a frame that we created. As you can see, we've gone the full colors of the rainbow. We used exactly the same technique. We did the spritzing, we did the splattering. It's a fabulous, fabulous effect. But let's take a look at some examples. I'm not going to complete that because the project gives you the idea of where we're going with that. Again, I'll just reach behind me and show you some of the wonderful examples that we've done. This one is a leaf, and again, we've simply done a repeat of the same leaf and then added these two in as we've gone around, so that creates a lovely round card. This one you can see, it's just two stamps. This stamp here and this lovely frond. So quite a dramatic effect. What I've done after stamping, I used my watercolors to apply the color, and then I just cut around with my craft knife. So we did some fussy cutting, which is a lot of fun. Same thing, very, very subtle color palette, the pink and that lovely mint green. Now this one, just blues. Now, believe it or not, this was a really large wreath, and we started in the center with this flower, then we added this flower, then we built outwards, so we added the butterflies, and then again another layer of this flower, but reversed in direction. Then, once it was created, simply cut it down to size. So it left that white space in the middle, and that's where you put your sentiment or whatever it is you're using. Now, here you go, embossing powder. You can use embossing powder, so you can use an embossing stamp pad, make your 8, and then pour on the embossing powder, and it's good to go. That is really cool. And this shows how you can batch make as well if you're making invitations for a wedding, for a garden party, for a, I don't know, anniversary, whatever it might be. You can create by using a sticky grid sheet, laying down your card. You can build as many of these as you want. And that is a save the date, so that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. And again, just two flowers. So we stamp the first flower, then we add in the second flower, and they all join up like that. Again, these two were larger wreaths that were then trimmed down. It creates quite a dramatic border effect. This one, I decided just to go with the orange. I didn't want to color the leaves. I don't know, it just kind of works for me. So those are just some cards that we've done. Another frame, you've probably seen it in the opening shot. I'll just bring it over. Keep calm and stamp and spin. You see the butterflies. That's where I started with this one. So we did the butterflies, then we added the individual flowers, and there are 1, 2, 3 different flowers. So we carefully built that around the butterflies. After which, again, I took my craft knife, I cut around it, or scissors, whatever you prefer. But that's really nice. When you start to add color, that's when it comes to life. Although I do myself like monochrome projects as well. Now let's show you. Now I want to show you one project. This is a 12 by 12. One of the advantages of having a tool like this is you're not impeded by any sides or edges. You can move this along to where you want it. So you can create your wreath. Then you can take it and place it here, for example, off the edge of the page, but it's still holding it. The sticky grid sheet is still holding this in place, and you create your wreath on that edge. So it does give you more scope in terms of scale, so you can work on larger scale projects. A few more wreaths to show you. These were just exercises again, and the flower, the leaves, and the daisy, they're from 3 different sets. So when I was saying about how Lisa's designed these so that they all work together seamlessly, that's what we're getting here. This one, now, this is quite interesting because you'll notice that there are 4 in the center. So what I've done is I stamped that, made a double click, stamped again, double click, stamp again, double click. So it creates the kind of wreath, but it's a double click. So there are 4 clicks rather than 8. So play around and experiment with that as well. And these are all things that haven't yet found a home or haven't been trimmed down to size. This is the fruit. This is a complete fruit salad. So we got strawberries, lemons, pears, and oranges. I could take the lemon and paint them green, and they could be limes as well. This is a perfect example of doing that double click. So we've got 4 butterflies, same butterfly, but you can see we've started to play around and put the foliage and the flowers in between. And of course, our sentiment in the center. And this is another example of building from the center outwards. So here I would start with the butterflies. Then I would put the foliage in between. Then I would add these flowers and then this one in the middle before building out around that. No right or wrong way of doing that. Play around, whatever, if you've got scraps of paper, use your junk mail. I always say that, that's what it's for. Turn it over and play around with it. You know, it shouldn't go to waste. So that, in a nutshell, is wreath building. And that is just part of what we can do with this wonderful tool. But there will be other videos. We show pattern building and we show masking as well. But this is just the basics on how to build those circles, whether they be small or whether they be large, and then how to use it thereafter. But to watch other videos in this series, go to the Sizzix website, go to the hub where it talks about the Stamp and Spin, and we will endeavor to show you how to get the best out of this tool. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you again soon.